I have shared my PPT. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, what do we discuss? Two different types of hazard. One is the structural hazard, and the other one is the data hazard. And we've seen that the you can if the structural hazards are not rare, then you allow the structural hazard to take place. And if the structural hazards is occurs frequently, then you need to find out a mechanism to overcome the structural hazard. Otherwise, there will be a great loss in the performance. And one way of overcoming the structural hazard is to replicate the resources, or you make the functional unit the fully pipeline. Then we discuss about the data hazard, and we discuss that the data hazard can be overcome by means of a technique called a data forwarding, where the result of a stage is directly passed to the input of another stage that requires the result. And we have seen that if there exists a load instructions and immediately followed by another instruction that uses the result of the load instructions, then a stall will occur in the pipeline. So and when a stall occurs, you lose the performance. The performance of the pipeline is decreased. Now, next let's look at the branch hazard or the control hazard. The performance loss due to the control hazard is much more than that of the data hazard. Now let's look at what happens in what happens when you execute a branch instruction. Now when you execute a branch instruction, the branch may or may not change the PC to something other than the current value plus 4. So what he said, that in the instruction phase stage, you fetch instructions, then you update the PC to the update the PC so that it point to the next instruction, so that at the beginning of the next clock cycle, the next sequential instruction in the program can be fetched. But if you are executing a branch instruction, then you decode that it is a branch instruction in the instruction decode stage, and you determine whether the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to take place, whether the PC will be changed to some other value, or the PC will retain its own value, the current value. That will be determined in the execution, the instruction decode stage. So when a branch is executed, the it may or may not change the PC to something other than its current value plus the 4. That means the branch may take place and the branch they may not take place. Now, if a branch you'll use two terms now. One is called a taken branch, and the other one is called a not taken a branch. That is, if a branch changes the PC to its target address. So we look at the PC is changed only at the instruction phase stage, but while executing a branch instruction, the instruction itself may change the PC to its target. Now, if the branch instruction changes the PC to its target, then we call it the taken branch. So the next instruction to be executed is not the successor of the branch instruction, but some instructions far away from the branch instruction. Now, if it falls true, that means the PC is not changed as a result of the execution of branch instruction, then we call it is not taken or is on taken. So you'll use two terms very frequently. One is called the taken, the other one is called on taken or not taken. Taken means the branch instruction is changing the content address, the content of the PC to the target address. Non-taken means the branch instruction will not change, and the next instruction will be executed is the successor of the branch instruction. Now, if it is a taken, if it is a taken, then the PC is not changed usually until the end of the instruction decode. This is the in the 5-stage pipeline that we are discussing. In the instruction decode stage, you'll compare some register to find out whether the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to say. So the PC is not going to change until the end of instruction decode and after completion of the address calculation and the comparison. So this is what you do in the instruction decode stage. So you make a comparison, then you compute the target address. Then if the branch is to be taken, the PC has to be updated by the target address. Uh, Suppose then then one of the simplest method of dealing with the branch. Now what has happened in the meantime? In the instruction, while the branch instruction in the instruction decode stage, the successor instruction is already there in the instruction phase 3, already there in the pipeline. The branch instruction in the second stage of the execution, the successor of the branch instruction is there in the first stage of the execution. Already the instruction successor instruction fetch and already there in the pipeline. Then what to do with that particular instruction? Now the next instruction is to execute it is not the successor instruction which is already fetched into the pipeline, but some other instruction far away from the current branch instruction. So one of the simplest method of dealing with the branch is to redo the fetch of the instruction following a branch when you detect that when you detect the branch during the instruction. So what is it that one of the simplest method is in the instruction decode stage. Moment you detect that it is a branch instruction, then you start again refetch the instruction, or you have already fetched the instruction, then you redo the fetching of the instruction. But this particular mechanism, this is one of the simplest mechanism, but it has a great performance losses. Let's look at how do you lose the performance now. Now let's look at this particular instruction. If you look at, I'm executing a sequence of instructions with the branch instructions and the successor of the branch instruction and the branch successor plus 1, branch successor plus 2. So if the if the if the branch if if the branch instruction, let's say the branch instruction, this is my instruction I, this is the instruction I, and this the successor of the branch is I at I plus 1. This is the instruction I plus 1, so I can call it the I plus 2, and this instruction I can call it the I plus 3. Now when you are executing the branch instruction at the instruction decode stage, you detect that it is a branch instruction. Now the simplest technique what is says that moment you detect that it is a branch instruction, then you immediately fetch refetch the you again you fetch instruction. So sorry, so let it not be into I plus 1, it's I plus 2 or I plus 3. Now let's say immediately you fetch, so again you fetch the instruction. Now in this simplest technique, you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle. Let's look at where you lose the performance. Suppose this is the instruction I and this is the branch instruction, and the next instruction to be executed is instruction I plus 1. So then already the instruction I plus 1 is already fetched. So branch instruction, the branch is not going to take place. Then the instruction I plus 1, since the branch is not going to take place, the instruction I plus 1 will be executed. The instruction I plus 1 already fetch, because the technique says you again refetch the instructions. So again you refetch the again you fetch the same instruction which was already fetched. So you fetch the instructions and start executing. Then the branch successor plus 1, branch successor plus 2, and if the branch is not taken place, so it is instruction I plus 1, I plus 2, and I plus 3. So here, irrespective of the outcome of the branch, whether the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to take place, you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle is lost. So if the branch is going to take place, then The next the instruction which is all fetched into the pipeline. This was the instruction which was fetched in the pipeline. This instruction is not the valid instruction. The instruction is somewhere away from the current branch instruction. So you need to again refetch the instruction for the target. But if the branch is not taken, the valid instruction to be executed is already there in the pipeline, but you are again refetching the instruction. So if the branch is not taken, then you always pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle. So here you always pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle, whether the branch is taken or the branch is not taken. And one stall for every branch. So moment it's a branch, whether it's a taken branch or it's not taken branch, you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle. So once one stall cycle for every branch will yield a performance loss of 10 to 30% depending upon the branch frequency. So let's look at what is the degradation in performance. Depending upon the branch frequency, the performance you lose varies from 10 to 30%. 30. So there is a tremendous loss, a tremendous degradation in the performance of the pipeline. So this simple, though it is a very simple technique, but the performance loss is much more. So let's look at some of the techniques which are designed for reducing the branch penalty. So let's reduce what is the how let's discuss on some of the techniques for reducing the branch penalty. One of the simplest technique. So we'll discuss the 4 techniques. Those are called the static. There are 2 ways to handle the branches. One is statically, the other one is dynamically. So so in this class we'll discuss only the static ones, which is handled by the compiler. One of the simplest technique is to freeze or flush the pipeline. So what it does in the flush the pipeline to you delete any instruction after the branch until the branch destination is unknown. Look at you have the instruction, the branch instruction in decode stage, and the next instruction is already the instruction fetch stage, already fetched. And so delete that instruction or any instructions after the branch until the branch destination is known. So branch destination is known at the end of the instruction decode stage. So you delete it. Now, so here the branch penalty is fixed, and the branch penalty is fixed because irrespective of the outcome of the branch, you are flushing the pipeline, so it is fixed, and you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle, and that branch penalty, it cannot be reduced by means of the software. And this is what we discuss. The same thing what we discussed, that you redo if it is the branch instruction, then you redo fetching of the instruction. So it says that if it is a branch instruction, so any instruction after the branch, suppose you already this instruction is there in the instruction decode stage, then one more instruction is already there in the instruction phase stage. So you flush this instruction. Once you flush these instructions, then at the end of the instruction decode stage, the target address is known. Then you start fetching the instruction from the target. The target may be the if it is a untaken branch is not taken, and if this instruction I and the branch is not taken, the target is I plus 1, and I plus 1 was already fetched. So this is what I will explain in the last slide. So the penalty is fixed. Now let's look at another technique. The other technique says that predict not taken. So here what you are doing, that you are predicting that the branch is not going to take place. So we call it the predict taken or predict untaken. So predict not taken, or sometimes we call a predicted untaken. So here it is predicted that the branch is not going to take place. Then you fetch the instructions from the successor of the branch instructions and start executing those instructions as if the branch instruction itself is any normal instruction. So execute the successor instruction. This is the successor of the branch instruction. If the branch instruction is I, the successor is I plus 1. So you fetch the successor of the branch instruction and you execute it as if the branch were a normal instruction. Then now look at, you do not know whether the branch is taken or the branch is not going to take, branch will be taken or the outcome of the branch instruction is unknown. Since the outcome of the branch instruction is unknown, then since the outcome of the branch instruction is unknown, so do not change the processor state until the branch outcome is definitely known. So it says do not change the processor state. That means do not write to the register. Do not perform any write operation until the outcome of the branch is definitely known, that whether the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to take place. If the branch actually taken, so suppose the branch is going to take place. So what you have done, you have already fetched the successor, you are executing the successor. Now the outcome is known and the outcome says that the branch is going to take place. Then you turn the fetch instruction into no operation. So the instruction which are already there in the pipeline, and in our 5-stage pipeline that we are discussing, the branch instruction outcome is known in the instruction decode stage. So there will be only one instruction in the pipeline. Now if the branch instruction will be if the outcome of the branch is known at a deferred stage in the pipeline, then the number of instruction in the pipeline which more than number of instructions in the pipeline will be more. But here the instruction the branch outcome is known at the instruction decode stage, so there will be at most only one instruction in the pipeline. So if it is not, if it is a taken branch, that means the target is not the successor of the current branch instruction, but the target is the some other instruction. Then the instruction which are fetched and there in the pipeline, you convert that instruction into no operation and restart the fetch at the target. So target is something different. So you start fetching from the target. Let's look at how these instructions in execute. So here let's look at this instruction. Now you are executing a branch instructions. So there are two possible outcome of the branch instruction. It may be a untaken branch or it may be a taken branch. Let's take it's a branch instructions. Let's take this is a branch instructions and this is a untaken branch instruction. The branch is not going to take place. So you fetch, decode, execute memory, you do all this. Then the next this instruction is at instruction I and the next instruction is I plus 1. So the branch instruction you are fetching, you are predicting that it is a untaken branch. So you decode this is a branch, decoded that it's a branch instruction. You predicted that it's an untaken branch instruction. So you fetch the next successor instruction. Instruction I plus 1 is fetch instruction I plus 1 is fetched. Now the outcome of the branch is not untaken. That means the branch is not going to take place. So the instruction I plus 1 which is there in the pipeline is the successor that of the branch instruction that need to be executed. So if already the instruction is already fetched, so execute start executing the instruction, then instruction I plus 1, I plus 2 and I plus 3, and in this way the process. So let's look at here, no penalty is paid. Though there was a branch instruction, because it was an untaken branch, no penalty is paid. Now let's look at the same branch instruction and the outcome now is a taken branch. Let's look at. So this is the branch instruction. This is the branch instruction and this is the branch instruction. The outcome is a taken branch. So at the instruction decode stage, the outcome is known to be that the branch is going to take place and the target is something different. So at this stage, the PC will be updated to the target Now the instruction I plus 1, which is already fetched into the pipeline. So this instruction is not the next instruction that to be executed after this branch instruction. The next instruction to be executed after the branch instruction is from the target, but this instruction is already there in the pipeline. So you convert this instruction into no operation. So when you convert this into no operation, then this instruction is allowed to move down the pipeline without performing any operation. So all this, the subsequent pipeline stages will remain in the idle operation for this instruction. Then you fetch from the, in clock cycle 3, you start fetching from the target and execute from the target. So here, if it's a taken branch, you of 1 clock cycle. So if it is an untaken branch, you don't, in this scheme, the predict not taken, you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle if the outcome is taken. That means it goes against the prediction. You have predicted something, but the prediction becomes wrong. So when the prediction becomes wrong, you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle. And if the prediction is correct, or if the branch is taking in the direction of the prediction, then you don't pay the penalty. The next alternative scheme is predict taken. So it was predicted on taken. Now it is a predicted taken. Now in case of a predicted taken, so you treat every branch is a taken. So when you treat every branch is a taken branch, then you need to compute the address for the target. So compute the target as soon as the branch is decoded, and start fetching and executing from the target. So in case of predict taken, every branch is treated as a taken, and you compute the target as soon as the branch is decoded, and start fetching and executing of the target. In the 5-stage pipeline, let's look at in the, is predicted taken is anyway useful in the 5-stage pipeline. So let's look at in the 5-stage pipeline, we had instruction fetch, we had instruction decode, execute, memory, and write back. So this is my branch instruction. Let's say this is a branch instruction. The next instruction is in the instruction fetch stage. Now in case of a predicted taken, this will be useful if, so next, this is my branch instruction. I am predicting the branch is going to take place. So the next instruction, this is I am fetching this instruction must be from the target. Now this instruction will be from the target if and only if this is possible that the target address, the PC, will be changed at this instruction phase to the target. So that means before decoding the instructions, we are able to predict. We should be able to predict that it will be a target. It will be a taken branch instruction. So, but in our 5-stage pipeline, this is not possible. In either predicted taken or predicted not taken scheme, the compiler can improve the performance of organizing the code so that the most frequent path matches the hardware choice. So what he says that the compiler can suppose the hardware says the predict is taken or the predict is not taken. So the compiler can rearrange the code such that most of the time the branch will take place in the direction of the predicted taken or in the direction of predicted not taken. So if the predicted taken, then the instructions are aligned in such that it will move in the direction of the predicted taken, and if predicted not taken, the codes are aligned or the codes are rearranged such that the most of the time the code will move in the direction of predicted the not taken. So this will be done by the compiler, and looking at what the hardware structure is, whether it is a taken or it's a non-taken. Now we have looked at the 3 scheme. One of the simplest scheme is to flush the pipeline, where you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle irrespective of the outcome of the branch. Then we looked at another technique, a predicted on taken, where you pay a penalty of 1 clock cycle if the prediction goes wrong. Then we looked at the predicted taken, in the, maybe some processor this scheme can be implemented, but in the five-stage pipeline that we are discussing, it's not possible to implement the predicted taken scheme, because in our scheme the branch condition is the branch outcome of the branch will be known at only at the stage of instruction decode stage, and in case of predicted taken, the branch outcome should be known only in the instruction phase stage, so that you can fetch it from the target. Now let's look at another scheme, and this scheme is heavily used in the RISC processor, and this is called a delayed branch technique. Now what happens in a delayed branch technique? Define a branch to take place after a following instruction. Now let's say what happens in a delayed branch technique. So this is my branch instruction. This is my branch instruction, and I do not know whether the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to take place. Now if the branch is n, this is my target, and this is my target if the branch is taken. So this is my branch instruction, and this is my target if the branch target if it is taken. Between this branch instruction and the branch target instructions, you put some useful instruction that will always be executed. So you put some instruction, we call it a sequential successor 1, sequential successor 2, sequential success, some instruction put here, and between this branch and the branch target there are n instructions are there, so we call it a branch delay of length n. So n number of instructions are there between the branch and the branch delay, but in most of the case the delay is always 1. So one useful instruction is put between the branch between the branch and the branch target, a useful instruction, and this instruction will always be executed irrespective of the outcome of the branch. If the branch is taken or the branch is not taken, irrespective of the outcome, irrespective of the outcome, the branch this instruction in the delay slot, the instruction in this delay, branch delay will always be executed, or this is called the branch delay slot. And usually the delay slot is always on. That means one useful instruction is placed between the branch and the target. Now let's look at behavior of the delayed branch if the branch is taken or the branch is not taken, and we assume that the delay slot is 1. So the instruction in the branch delay slot following the branch. So this is my branch instruction, and these are the instructions the delay slot, and these instructions will always be executed irrespective of the outcome of the branch. So let's look at the behavior of the branch delay if the branch is taken and the branch is not taken. Let's take a branch. Let's take this is a branch instruction, and the delay slot is 1. The delay slot is only 1. That means one useful instruction is placed between the branch and the target. So this is the branch instruction, and this is an untaken branch instruction. The branch instruction is not going to take place. Then the branch delay instruction is I plus 1. So this is my branch instruction. This is my branch target. Between the branch and the branch target, I have put a instruction. This is the instruction I. This is instruction I plus 1. The target is at I plus 2. So between I and I plus 2, I have put one instruction. That one instruction, and this instruction will be executed irrespective the branch is going to take place or the branch is not going to take place. Now let's assume that the branch is not going to take place. So the branch is not going to take place. So it will fetch the instruction in the delay slot and it will execute this instruction, because this instruction will always be executed out irrespective of the outcome. Then done. Then this is known that the branch is not going to take place. So the branch is not going to take place, so it will execute where is the target? The target is instruction I plus 1. So you have executed instruction instruction I plus 2 is the target. You are executing instruction I plus 1. So you fetch this instruction. The next instruction is I plus 2. So you fetch it and execute. So no penalty. So let's look at here in a delay slot for a untaken condition, no penalty. Now let's look at the taken condition. Same is the case that this is my branch instruction. This is my branch target. Let's say this is instruction I. Then this is at instruction I plus 2. So I'll put some useful instruction in I plus 1. So you execute the branch instruction. Done. Then you start fetching the instruction in the delay slot and execute. So the target is known. The target is known, and where is the target? The branch target is somewhere else. So let's not be branch targets. Let's somewhere else away from here. So branch target is known. So you compute the PC here. The PC is updated. Then in the next clock cycle, you start fetching. The PC of the target is known at the end of the clock cycle 2. So start fetching from the target in the clock cycle 3. So it is from the target and target plus 1. So again here, no penalty is paid. So in a delayed branch technique, whether the branch is taken or the branch is not taken, you are not going to pay any penalty. But here the important question is, I am putting this instruction. From where I will get this instruction? I must get some instructions and put between the branch and branch target so that that instruction will be always be executed irrespective of the outcome of the branch. So almost all processor with delayed branch have a single instruction delay, and it is the job of the compiler is to make the successor instruction valid and useful. Successor of instruction is the successor of the branch instruction. It must be a valid instruction and it must be a useful instruction. That instruction must be executed. So the next question is, where to get the instruction to fill the branch delay slot? So we are looking at the delay slot, and let's look at most of the processor has a delay slot of 1. Then from where the compiler will get the instruction to fill in the delay slot. So there are 3 techniques. One is before the branch instruction. That means you get some instructions before the branch instruction, and that the instruction before the branch instruction will always be executed. So get it before the branch instruction and put it in the delay slot. Then you get the instruction from the target. That means the instruction in the delay slot is the target instruction, and this is useful only when the branch is taken. If the branch is taken, then the instruction will be executed in the direction of the target. So if you are getting from the target, this is useful only when the branch is taken, and from the fall through. If it is the fall through, it's valuable only when the branch is not taken. So there are 3 schemes. So let's discuss the 3 schemes now. Now let's look at this figure. The top figure says before scheduling, and the top figure says before scheduling of the instructions, and the bottom figure says after scheduling. So the compiler rearrange the instructions. The compiler rearrange the instructions such that the penalty due to the branch will be minimized. Now let's look at you are using the branch delay slot technique, and we are filling the delay slot from the before. Now this is the branch instruction. This is my branch instruction. It says if R2 equal to 0, then this is my target. So if it is 0, if R2 equal to 0, then you start executing the here. Otherwise, there is a instructions. There is a delay slot here. This is one instruction delay slot, and you get the instruction from somewhere. Now there is a instruction here, add. E says R2 plus R3 and put the value in the R1. So I can schedule this add instruction. Instead of executing the add instruction here, I can execute the add instruction after the branch instruction. So, and I know that this instruction will execute it. Now, if I execute this one, then branch instruction will execute it after this add instruction. So add will always be add is always executing. So get the add instruction, that instruction before the branch, and put it in the delay slot. So this is called the before technique. Then from the target, so this says if R2 is 0, then you execute this one. Now, if you look at in a if you have written a loop, and we know that in the most of the time the loop is going to take place. So most of the time you work in the loop, so you know the target. So the target is known. So here it says this is my branch instruction and this is my target, and this will be the next instruction after the target. And so next is then the from the target source, this is my target instruction. The target instruction should fill in the delay slot. So this is my branch instruction, this is the next instruction, this is my delay slot, and I need to find out a instruction from the delay slot, so get it from the target. So this contain the target from the target, and you fetch the next instruction from here from the target is known. Then from the fall through is this is my branch instruction, and this is the fall through instruction. This instruction will be executed because the branch is not going to take place. In a fall through, the branch is not going to take place. So this is the sequential instructions. So this instruction will be executed. So, and here there is one instruction. So you put this instruction in the delay slot, and if R1 is 0, this instruction is moved to the delay slot, and if R1 is 0, then you execute the targets, and we know that this instruction will be executed if it is fall through. So this is the three techniques for handling the branch instruction, and you'll find these three techniques in our modern find one of the technique in the delayed branch technique is fine in all modern day processor. Now
hello sir. Sir, normally the branch target is first executed and then the successor of the branch instruction is executed, na sir, without delayed branching.
okay.
So what if something like R1 is written back in the branch target and which is used in the delayed branch? So what value will R1 take?
No. Let me explain that one. So look at you are talking about this one, R1.
Yes, sir.
This one. This is my branch instruction, right? This is my branch instruction. I am looking for instruction from the delay slot. Now I'll put that instruction in the delay slot, which has no effect on R1. Otherwise, I cannot put. So had it been, if this one has been R1, so let's say I'll put this one as R1. If R1 equal to 0, now let's look at, there is a add instruction here. Now this add instruction I have moved into delay slot. If this becomes R1, then this instruction cannot be moved into the delay slot.
Okay.
So
like
yes.
I am saying, if the branch target has the dependency on R1.
Branch target
is writing back the R1.
Branch target is writing back the R1.
So the new value of R1 is
no. Let's not confuse. Let's not confuse. Which are the instruction will update the register? Okay. All the ALU instruction will update the register, whether it's the ALU operation or ALU immediate operation, right? All the ALU. So branch instruction is not a ALU operation. It's not performing an ALU instruction or ALU immediate instruction. So branch instruction will never write into the target. If you look at R1, R2, this a register compared with the 0 value. Here, if you look at the first here, The register R2 here, the register R2 is compared with the 0 value, so it's not going to write. Here the register R1 is compared with the 0 value. Here the register R1 is compared with the 0 value. So a branch instruction will never update a register.
No, sir. I'm saying that branch target. Here, this add instruction is performing R2 and R3 and updating
Okay.
R1 as well.
Okay.
So this is updating parallelly with the branch target.
Right.
So
No.
while add instruction is performing, the branch instruction is in the fetch stage. If this is decoding, so it
No,
will
so you are looking at the top one or you looking at the bottom one? Look at
bottom one, bottom one.
bottom one. Okay. So which part is from the before, from the target or the fall through?
From the
From before, right?
yes.
So this is my sequential execution. In my sequential execution, so let's say this instruction is at I, this instruction branch instruction is at I plus 1. Now
Yes.
I plus 1 will execute if and only if instruction I has completed its execution. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'll put it in the delay slot. If I'll put in the delay slot, the instruction I plus 1 will always be executed. So I want this instruction will always be executed. So look at this instruction will always be executed irrespective whether the branch is taken or the branch is not taken.
Okay.
Okay.
So that will be executing twice, no, sir. Then.
Where it is executing, the stop will not be executed.
Okay.
This is an unscheduled instruction. That is why I've drawn the vertical bar. This instruction, this is what the compiler will now generate. This is what you have written. The programmer is written in this way. This is what the compiler is going to do. Compiler will put this one. While compiler schedule the instruction, the compiler will schedule in this way.
Yes, sir. What
Okay.
my doubt is here, add R1, like here it is updating R1. So adding R2 and R3. So what
Right.
if the target of branch is like it is like add R2, R3, R4. So it is updating R2 as and branch target. So
Where it is
what
updating? It's not
like
updating
if
R2. R2 is a source register, R3 is a source register. These two source register are so R1 is updated here, not R2.
if you assume in branch target, sir, if you assume in branch target, R2 is updated.
But here you're telling R2.
If in branch target,
Then you
R2
cannot
will be
move.
updated.
No,
Okay.
you cannot move this instruction. That is why I
Okay.
say if this is my R2, suppose if I'll instead of this R1, I'll make it R2.
Okay.
Correct? So I
Yes.
cannot move this instruction. It's not possible. You cannot move.
Okay.
Then we have to find out one more instruction before the branch instruction. Maybe somewhere instruction I minus 1, I minus 2, I minus 3, some instruction before the branch instruction so that you can move.
Okay.
There has to be no relation between this and this. Then only you can move. Otherwise, it's not possible. Okay.
Okay.
So what is the limitation of the delayed branch scheduling? So let's look at the limitation. One of the limitation is restriction on the instructions that are scheduled into the delay slot. So which instruction you are going to put into delay slot? The instruction that will always be executed irrespective of the outcome of the branch that will put into the delay slot. Right? Another question is the instruction that in the delay slot itself is a branch instruction. Suppose you take out an instruction and put in the delay slot. The delay slot instruction itself is a branch instruction. Then it's difficult to predict what will be the outcome. So usually the instructions which are put in the delay slot is never a branch instruction. Now, the ability to predict at compile time whether the branch is taken or a branch is not taken. So the compiler should able to look at the hardware is a built-in mechanism. The compiler should also able to know whether at the compile time whether take not. So so you had a the hardware mechanism said the predict taken. So the compiler should able to predict whether the branch instruction is going to take place or not. Accordingly, it will schedule such that the instruction will be scheduled in the direction of the prediction. Now, if your predicted, if your hardware says that the predict not taken, the compiler should able to predict that the branch is not going to take place, and it will schedule the instruction in that direction. Now, to improve the ability of the compiler to fill the branch delay, look at the delay slot is filled by the compiler. It's done only at the compile time, not at the runtime. So the ability of the compiler to fill the branch delay slot, to improve the ability of the compiler to fill the branch delay slot, most processors with conditional branches have introduced something called a cancelling or a nullifying branch. So this technique is built into the uh, the processor, the cancelling and nullifying branch for so that the compiler can fill the instructions in the delay slot. So what does this cancelling branch say? The instruction in the delay slot include the direction that the branch was predicted. So you are putting the instruction in the delay slot in the direction of the prediction. Suppose your prediction says on taken branch, the branch is not going to take place. Then you are putting all the instruction in the direction of the on taken branch. So delay slots contain the next instruction in the sequential target. So if it's taken, the next instruction of the after the branch should be from the target. That is the delay slots from the target. So but here you are predicting it, but you do not know what is the outcome of the prediction. You are predicting that the branch is not going to take place. The branch may take place. You are predicting that the branch is going to take place. The branch may not take place. The prediction goes wrong. So whenever the prediction goes wrong, there must be a mechanism to handle the wrong prediction. So the instruction, the delay slots includes the direction that the branch was predicted. For correct prediction, the instruction in the delay slot is executed. If your prediction is correct, the instruction, the delay slot must be executed. And if the prediction goes wrong, then you need to nullify that instruction, or you convert into the no operation so that it does not affect the result of the outcome of the program. For incorrect prediction instruction, the delayed slot is turned into no operation. So which instruction in the delay slot, you turn that instruction no operation so that the instruction will not be executed. It will not have an effect on the execution of the pipeline or the outcome of the program. Now let's slightly discuss on this, the speed up. And last class computed the speed up of the performance of the pipeline in the presence of this branch instructions. So you say the speed up is pipeline depth plus 1 plus pipeline stall cycle per branches. So now let's compute what is this pipeline stall cycle per branches. The pipeline stall cycle per branches is equal to the branch frequency and the branch penalty. Now look at, there can be two types of branches, conditional and unconditional branch. So both has this frequency and both has a penalty. So both the conditional and unconditional branches will impact on the pipeline stall cycle for the branches. So the speed up will now write the speed up as a pipeline depth divided by 1 plus the branch frequency into the branch. So if you know the frequency of the branch and the penalty of the branch, then you can compute what will be the speed up in the case of a pipeline in the performance of the pipeline in the presence of the branch instruction. So these are the four static techniques. In the next class, we'll discuss the techniques, some of the dynamic techniques, which are while executing, how the branch can be handled. So if you have any doubt, then you can ask me. Otherwise, you can leave the team.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in the previous slide, you said if the prediction is correct, sir, when will we be sure that the prediction is correct or not? Is it after execution or
No.
something else?
Look at it's a if you let's look at our 5-stage pipeline. In our 5-stage pipeline, in which stage you are the branch outcome is known? In the instruction decode stage only.
ID.
ID
Yes,
stage.
sir.
So at that ID stage, you will be able to know. But if I redraw my pipeline, let's say I will assume now that, let's say, instruction fetch, instruction decode, execute, memory, and write back. Now I will say that branch target is only, and in this decode state you will do the decode and compute the target, do everything. So outcome is known. Now instead of computing the branch target at the instruction decode state, you compute the branch target in the execution stage. Then the outcome PC will be changed only after the execution stage, not after the instruction decode stage. So here you pay a more penalty. So here one instruction fetch, instruction decode, one instruction fetch. Two instructions are there in the pipeline. These two instructions need to be converted into the no operation. So it all depends upon how the pipeline is designed and how branches are handled in the pipeline. In our case, we have assumed that the branch outcome will be known and the target will also be computed in the instruction decode stage.
Sir, then can we just simplify that checking if the prediction is correct or not by calculating the result, means the branch target address we obtained in the EX stage and the ID stage of the next successor instruction?
No, I could not get.
Sir, means you told na ki we get the branch target branch target address after the EX stage.
No, that is
Then
this is the case. I was explaining something different, not the something what I explained the previous classes. So here I said I am doing all my operation in the instruction decode stage. The comparison, decoding, comparison branch, sign extension, computing also the target. All is done in the instruction decode. The target can be computed only at the instruction stage. Here I am computing the target. Rather than computing the target at instruction decode stage, I am computing the target at the execution stage. Now, if that is done, the PC cannot be updated here. In the previous case, PC was updated here. Now, if the target is computed only after the computation, PC is updated. That means after the execution stage, only PC will be changed to the target value. So it depends. If the PC is changed here, one way of handling, PC is changed here, the other way of handling. If the PC is changed at this stage, two instructions are there, two no operation is to be done. If the PC is changed at this stage, there will be only one instruction, one no operation is to be done. Am I correct? Am I able to answer the question? So more deeper is the pipeline and deeper is the branch handling you do, then more number of penalty you pay. If you look at, if you are doing in the execution stage, now if I am doing in the execution stage, how many clock cycle I have lost? 2 clock cycle is lost. For every instruction we will be losing now 2 clock cycle. Now assume if you have in any program, you will find enough number of branch instructions. There may be a 4 instructions. Every 5th instruction is a branch instruction. This is what is being observed in any program. So it's 55. So you can leave the team.
sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, in normal cases, like except the branch instructions, the PC gets updated in the IF stage only.
Yes.
But
PC gets updated.
as
Yes.
it is the branch instruction, then only we are we are doing some extra work to update the PC in the ID stage only, right?
Right.
Okay, sir.